And I know that we will have we'll have some more people. I'll keep an eye on the waiting room, but we can go ahead and at least get started with some of the ground setting for today. Normally in our community of practices, we just know like our funding, where our funding comes from, noting that fourth trimester is a trademark, and coming soon is more information about how to use fourth trimester content on our website, things like that. Noting that this session is being recorded, and that also we have a disclaimer on our website if you haven't reviewed in a while. It's just about the terms that we use with New Mom Health, Salud Madre, about trying to be inclusive, and also our adherence to the HOOT code with ourselves and any of our partners. So the plan for today is in the chat. If you could share your name, your role and organization, and the location that you're calling in for, or the location of your work. I think it's always interesting to see all the different places in North Carolina and organizations different people are joining from. And I just put the slides down so we could see each other's faces.
Well, looks like we have a lot of nurse champions here today.
Yeah, I was just about to type to Kimberly. I'm not seeing some of our newer sites on just yet.
Yeah, I don't see them here yet either, but it's also recorded, so we can send it to them if they are able to join. Well,
while we're reading where each other's joining in from, I thought a fun icebreaker, something that I think is fun to read online, is what is your favorite unpopular opinion? So mine, for example, is avocado is overrated. Everyone loves avocado. I don't agree. What's your favorite unpopular opinion? So I've heard some other funny ones, like Mariah Carey is not the queen of Christmas and her songs are awful at Christmas time. I've heard that one where people will fight over that one. A lot of food ones. If you have one. Christmas music. So you would die at my house. We start like the day after Halloween.
And we've got Starbucks coffee is not coffee.
Hot chocolate's gross. Hot chocolate, I agree with that one. Unpopular opinion, I love eggnog. I feel like a lot of people are like, no. But I hate milk. Like I hate plain milk. Starbucks is not coffee. It's coffee flavored milk, I agree. And I agree the hot chocolate is just pineapple on pizza is great. That is.
I agree, Taryn. I agree.
You do? I haven't had it in so long. I think I was 7 the last time I had it, where it was ham and pineapple. Well, thanks for obliging. That's fun. Oh, wait, there's some more. Green tea tastes like hot soap. Matcha, I agree. I don't like matcha. Like matcha, same, not.
Don't like s'mores, it's the marshmallows.
You don't like marshmallows and ketchup? I don't like marshmallow flavored things.
Only in Rice Krispies, but anything else, if it's fluffy, but then everyone does chubby bunny, I have to leave the room.
That is funny.
Well, let's see. Oh, and Karen only likes marshmallows when it's with s'mores.
Well, thank you for sharing. I think those are always funny to read when people, because I think reactions are the most funny part of unpopular opinions. When someone's like, marshmallows are gross, and everyone's like, what? Are you kidding, Granny? All right, well, our time today, I'll go back to the slides. We might want to adjust a little bit, Kimberly, some of the time that we were going to do today, because I think some of the people on this call are familiar with the summary, at least, that we were hoping to do for the new team, the new sites that we're going to join.
We do have for year 4 kickoff. One thing that we wanted to change for this year, since we kind of have the process a little bit more streamlined and with engagement, this year we have, I think we have about 12 new sites that are joining, and we will make sure that everyone has the sites that have joined with their perinatal region, so that you can make sure that you're capturing and connected with those. Our goal is to have this type of session so people can know what they're doing and know the different tools that are available and answer questions, and also be able to have them readily engaged as they start with the process. So we'll talk about some of the 4th trimester goals for this year 4, and if we have anybody else come and join, we can listen to challenges and sharing, and then thinking about what's coming in 2023. Next slide. So we do have our save the dates. We have our December 15th is our community of practice with Stakarica on creating and building the village. Feel free to share this with your networks and encourage anyone to come. Then we have our January 26th session, and our February 23rd. One's going to be on lactation support and education, and then the next one's on substance use and postpartum will be in February. We can skip over, we know our village. Oh. Everyone here. And then we do, I don't know if everyone knows, but I think some people have met with Citygate Dream Center. This year, our focus is with Citygate Dream Center is going to be working on the postpartum plan in Spanish. So we have it translated already, but we wanted to make sure that it was translated appropriately. And so they're actually working on making sure that they're going to review that document for us this year and provide feedback to make sure that it's culturally appropriate and not just translated. And so we'll be doing that work with them this year. And so if anyone has, has any questions, or if they wanted to have more information about the Citygate Dream Center or the work that we're doing with them, feel free, let us know. And I want to say, I think they're in your region, Tina. I think they're in, or they actually might be in my region, but they're close to your region, and they work in with Cone too.
I think they're in Burlington and Alamance County, so they are affiliated with Cone through Alamance Regional. That's my understanding.
So I think you're right.
That sounds right. And Pastor Lisa and Amelia Suarez have always opened their doors and offered if anyone wants to come see the community, or join a community event, that our teams and our extended teams are always welcome. So I wanted to note that.
Next slide. And well, you guys know what our mission and our vision and our why for sparking change. And I think this year our goal is to spark change, but also helping practices as they integrate the different toolkits into their processes and trying to make it easier. And one thing that we have found is that it may not actually be using a whole toolkit. It may just be using one of the materials. So it might be like using the one sheeter, or a lot of places are actually downloading and requesting the birth control after baby and the postpartum books, which those will be available in the warehouse soon for order. And we've actually had a lot of places that have been ordering those recently.
I'll drop the link in the chat. It's actually, most of them are available now. So that's an exciting, I think my big update on this office hour is that the materials are now in the warehouse. I think we're just missing one, but we're working on it. And so they're available to order, free to print, and have shipped directly to you to start handing out as many as you need. And I'll drop that in the chat.
Suzanne, you want to go to slide number 11?
Yes, I can't see what slide I'm at, but
that's it. So this year the sites that we have, we do have a couple of them that are listed that are still trying to continue and expand the work. Some of the new sites that we actually have Piedmont Health Services. There's several sites that are actually working on the 4th trimester toolkits and tools. And Liz, they're in your perinatal region, and we've just started having those conversations with them, but we'll make sure that we get that you're connected to those meetings so you can count that work as part of the Nurse Champion, so that you can have connections. One thing that we tried to do last year was work with Rebecca to make sure that if we had any sites working in your perinatal region, that we were making sure that the Nurse Champions were connected. And so if we have anybody, we'll make sure we follow back up with them. We do have, I think that's in perinatal region 4 too. And then I know Floyd and Harris, Karen, in your region, that they have said that they were on, but I think we're kind of pushing back and forth with them. If there's another site, if we have another one, actually we do have another site that we are working with. Novant reached out. And so when we have that meeting, we'll make sure that we have that connection with you so that you know that that site is started. Connect. Suzanne, we see your email.
So sorry, someone asked to join just now. They're like, can you send me the?
No problem. Next slide. So this is the website. Suzanne, the person that's joining, are they a new site?
Thank you, Karen. I see the chat. It is someone from DPH wanting to join.
The reason why I ask, because I think the next few slides, I'll ask you guys, is it helpful for us to go through all the toolkits and resources that are available now, or do you feel like you kind of have an idea what's there? Because that's what we're going into next.
Or at least I wondered if I share my screen and we just take a minute to go through what's just the toolkit itself, and maybe also the warehouse to see like where you can, how to navigate, where you can find the order forms for what to order, perhaps. Does that sound? Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen. So I hope you can see my screen and you are looking at the homepage of New Mom Health, at least the desktop version. When you go to this, you can usually find, for me, the easiest way to navigate it is I'll click on For Providers. And that brings you to the providers page. Just quick tip, Maternal Health Innovation, this is the quick link to get to our NC MHI content, which is all the materials that are relevant to your sites. But you can also find postpartum toolkit materials here. And in this section is where there's quick links to each of the tools. So when we say postpartum toolkit materials, what we're talking about is this care plan. We are in the last step of review with PA2 with DPH, so that should be done and then translated to Spanish. We have the postpartum planning tool, which is the one that I'll just show so you can look. Postpartum care plan being, oh, my internet might not let me do this. Being where a provider, a healthcare team member might sit down with the new parent to fill out their care plan. So this is really about who's on their care team, urgent maternal warning signs, like who would they contact, at what point. This is information about appointments, information about medications that they might be taking, and then place for support, you know, where they could find information about childcare services, or I need access to a breast pump, things like that, where it can be filled in. So it's kind of meant for a provider to be filling out with the birthing parent. Then the postpartum plan is where the mother could, or the birthing parent could fill this out themselves, where it's they can fill out how they want to be supported postpartum, so how they want to be communicated. This is tips for visitors about, you know, if they want them at the hospital, if they want them home, what they would like the visitors to do, whether it's, you know, washing hands or bringing a meal, helping with dishes or laundry, things like that. They can fill this all in. A lot of open space for types of supplies, types of food, information that they can fill out. And then at the end of both of these is information about mental health, about where they can kind of do a quick fill out from Postpartum Support International about how they're doing with their mental health. The visit checklist, so those are both available in Spanish. The visit checklist is meant for a more clinical setting where it could be passed out at a prenatal or even at a postpartum checkup in a clinical setting where the parent can go through and fill out things that they want to talk about. So it's kind of more of a clinic tool. Something that I think almost every site has adopted this one, so I'm sure you're familiar with this one, the birthing parent one-pager and the new baby one-pager. So these are one-page printouts meant to be handed out. I know that Piedmont is putting it in their prenatal packets. I know that other sites are doing it at discharge or at discharge, where it's meant to be hung up on the fridge or somewhere where the family can all see this. It's going to the emergency room if you experience any of these things postpartum, calling your health provider, and I know a lot of you have seen this because you've also helped to adapt the language in this about don't wait for office hours, make sure that you reach someone if you're experiencing any of these, and then information about taking care of you. And the baby health information is similar, where it's if your baby's experiencing any of these, who to call at what point. And then the older ones that we've updated is the Taking Care of You booklet and the Birth Control After Baby booklet. These are all available at the DPH warehouse, available to order. But I want to note that I'll give an example being the new baby health one-pager. If you click on this section, there's a section right here where it says tips for using this tool. And we've created overviews that help practices to know how to introduce the tool. So a quick, what's the purpose of the new parent one-pager? What's inside of the new parent one-pager? We have a box for special considerations. So it'll note if it's appropriate for a family that has a baby in the NICU, or if there's been a loss or anything traumatic, it'll note it in the special considerations about using this tool or not. And then on most of these, there's a section on how to use this tool, including some of these overviews include specific quotes about, maybe timing. So this one says the 3rd trimester, it could be introduced. And this is just suggestions about how to use the tool, but just to note that you can find this for all of the different postpartum tools. So there's a quick overview of when we say toolkit, that's what we mean. And I was going to pause there before I go into ordering the materials. I can also just put the link in the chat so that I'll put it in the chat for to order materials. I need to update the website with kind of the button of here's what you click. Here's the direct link. I know that some of our sites have already ordered, and I'll say that because we had presented last week to a team, and then while I think I dropped this link in the chat, and by the time I stopped sharing my screen, one of the people had said oh, I went through and I ordered them all, so they're coming to our clinic and we're going to get started as soon as we get them. So that was exciting to see that it was very easy. But when you click on that link, it's this order form where it looks like a Survey Monkey. And you can go through and you can put your information. It's not going to let me do it right now, but because I'm going to have to fill it out. But at that point, you can click new parent one-pager or the Taking Care of You booklet or all of the above to get them in your clinic. Kimberly, was that all what we were? Was that the quick overview on toolkit?
Yeah, that's it.
So the big thing is that they're all in the warehouse. We are making updates to the care plan in Spanish and the postpartum plan in Spanish, but the other ones have been marked final, at least for final for now. I think everything will always need an update and a review eventually, but final for now to be used. So that's really exciting.
And I guess, Suzanne, the other question we can ask is to those that have joined, is there anything that, any support that's needed for, as you guys are working with your sites, or any updates? And then we can probably be able to close out early. Looks like Karen says no.
I have a hospital up in the western part of North Carolina that's really struggling right now to get on board with updating everything. Like, they've been lost in this vortex for a while. So it's probably going to be, it's a smaller hospital, smaller staff. They have some motivated physicians that are willing to help, and their staff is motivated, but we may need to have some conversation about postpartum care, but it'll probably be later in the spring. I have mentioned this organization to them as we're sort of trying to get them into the current century with some of their care. And I've said that to them, so I'm not being unreasonably sarcastic here, but and that's the way they feel too. But yeah, we'll have to incorporate them as things move along with them a little bit. Right now, they're still trying to be current on NICHD terminology for their fetal monitoring stuff. So we've got some significant work to do there. And but they're motivated, and I think they want to provide good care to their people. They just haven't realized that they weren't necessarily for a while.
Yeah, no, but definitely feel free. We can provide support as needed, and let us know how we can help.
Thanks.
Well, awesome, Suzanne. Was there anything else that you wanted to?
Well, yes, there's the one thing I just forgot. So next, like we said, the next time we'll see you hopefully is at this community of practice on December 15th. And this one's on building a village. The next one is going to be January 26th. But the new thing that we're doing with communities of practice is that the speakers have asked if we could submit any questions or context for what we'd like to hear about during their sessions in advance. So now there's a survey, I just put it in the chat, where we're sending that out before each community of practice, and then I'll share that with the speakers. It's anonymous, but it's just to help them gauge like how deep to go in content, how to structure their content so that that it's relevant and they're actually hitting on topics that you'd like to hear about. Particularly, let me go back to my save the dates. Particularly for lactation support and education, I know that they wanted to know like what specific things should they be hitting on? Like what questions do you ask so that they can make sure they're covering that presentation so that the discussion can be even more rich. And then in February, it's on substance abuse postpartum. So again, like it'd be really helpful to know like if you have any questions you want them to address or topics, things like that. We now have that survey. It's anonymous. So please do fill that out and we will share that with the presenters before each community of practice.
Suzanne, I do have a question about that. So is the link different for each presentation, or okay? Then can we just send that, like, if some people have already gotten, because we forwarded the invites and things, if people have already logged in, will they have an opportunity to get that, or should we put that on our list to send the link for those questions out in advance?
If they've RSVP'd, that's a good question. If they've RSVP'd, I can send an email out to all the RSVPs to say we're asking for questions. But it is the same link for it'll be the same standard link for all of them, because of the first question is for which topic or session. But then there is space at the end, just so you know, if there's a future topic that you're requesting that we cover. Because like I said, we have the next three. We have the building village, lactation support, and substance use. And then we have a sketch plan for the remainder of the year. But if there's a topic that's really kind of burning on your mind, you really would like us to find a speaker to cover it, there's a space for that.
Okay.
Or even shouting out, like, I would love to hear this person. So great.
I have a quick question, and I may be completely lost, but So I have an opportunity to help with guiding the next breastfeeding symposium here in the East. And I am not sure that a lot of our folks, obviously, because we're not well represented on this list, I've had a lot of hesitation with an ECU. Is there any conflict of interest for these to be used in the health department, your tools and things? I just know sometimes the funding, there's issues. No, okay. Because when I was reading their feedback from the previous symposium, a couple of things really triggered my thoughts of, well, if they were using these tools, that would be great. So I was going to plug this tomorrow in that meeting and be like, hey, have you guys reviewed this site? Do you know anything about it? Because I feel like there's a great opportunity. But as Ms. Harper is very well aware, we've had a lot of hesitation here in the East for change. And so I'm kind of like Tina, we're not in the dark ages, but in some aspects we could improve, and our workers, our healthcare workers, all community care workers see that. So maybe if we have more voices, we'll have more opportunity to be engaged. So.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Jessica, I just wanted to elevate, as you're probably well aware, Dr. Anjali Palmquist's work with donor human milk in particular. And she and I, Dr. Stubbe and others, just published on racial disparities in donor human milk use. And it went the way as you would expect. And so I can put a link to that open access article in the chat right now. But I wanted to say how wonderful she is, if she's not already on your list.
And just materials, we were waiting for them to be in the warehouse to do a big push with the nurse consultants across the state to push out to the health departments to make sure that they were able to, they're using them and getting updates. And we have done some presentations with the WIC too. So I think at the top of the year, we're gonna do a bigger push because we just got the notice that it's in the warehouse for everybody to order.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. That's great, and thank you, Kim. I have this opportunity to be on the planning committee, and then also working with Hannah Edens, who's the new person over the 60 counties. So she very well may be aware, but I just want to make sure that we get the word out there because, again, like I said, when I was reading through their feedback today, preparing for the meeting tomorrow, I was like, well, we could fix that. We could help that. And just trying to connect the dots. Thanks, guys.
Kristen, I'm working with a group in my region as well for a breastfeeding webinar. Actually, it's going to be a seminar. It's going to be in person. Do you think she'd be willing to present in the Charlotte region, and does she cost? Like, I would probably need some information if I'm going to bring her to my group and say we should get her. This is a great study.
I think Dr. Palmquist is in high demand, rightfully so. And I think that stipends for people's time are the standard. I don't speak for her at all. I'm also an author and can present, but she's, the lead with that. And so she's great. And she and I work a lot around well, not nearly enough. I would love to work with her more around the code of breast milk substitutes. It really surprises me how few people are aware of that global standard. And, when we talk about, materials and use and tools, then the commercial and proprietary nature of things is a huge problem in maternal health, especially for those of us who care about access and equity. And so, Jessica, that's a unfortunately rare stance that our team has, which I deeply value, to make things for use, for open access use, and to not have, and that's a function of our privilege that we're able to do that without ads or things like that. And so yes, that is what it is for. It's for use. And so I'm rambling, but Anjali is great, and I think could speak to uniquely speak to the ethics of lactation support, including with, donor human milk use. That's like that we see differences everywhere we look, and that's just one example. But I was on the 5 women's at North Carolina Medical Center last week, and I overheard the nurses chatting around the lack of standing orders for donor human milk use. Like even when it's indicated, and even when the families are ready and equipped, and even when we have it, right, then there are systems level barriers. And so if that were the norm, then we wouldn't have to place orders, they would be standing. And so I'm working on piloting that here. But that's the sort of culture of health that we need, is where human milk in all its forms and the support that people need to achieve that is prioritized. I'll put Anjali's email in the chat.
That's Kristen is so funny, because when I think about as a young nurse and as a young mom, I had the opportunity to donate to the breast milk bank in Raleigh, and there were so many people that I worked with here in the East End that had no idea what I was doing. So there's still not only the education and the standing orders, but also the awareness of the availability. And of course, I was in a rural facility, not a NICU, so it makes a difference. But
oh yeah, and we looked at it for not only the NICU but on the postnatal unit. And my story right now, I was on the postnatal unit, and so we need it for obviously the most vulnerable and for everybody. And Anjali's done a lot of work on milk sharing, and I personally have experience in that space as well. There's a lot of ways to, and we should be actively supporting them all.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I think that's all. Before we go, I did want to shout out Jessica Noble for writing her article. It hasn't been released yet, but it comes out in January, I think. Awesome job.
And thank you to Kimberly and Kay Mitchell and Erin McCain and all those people who make me sound like I make sense when I talk all my gibberish. So thank you.
When you have that published, please do forward it to us so we can share. I know Lily is on this call, so I know she does an amazing job at our MHI monthly updates, so we'll be sure it's included. All right, well, thank you so much for coming and joining together. I especially loved hearing about everyone's unpopular opinions. I feel like I learned something from this group a little today, and I hope to see you on Thursday then for our community of practice. I'll go ahead and send out that question survey link.
So happy. And actually, happy holidays, or have a great break, because we'll see you on the new.
Won't be in an intimate setting again until January. All right, take care, everyone.